Greetings, everyone, and welcome. It is March the 28th, early in the morning here on the East Coast of the United States, and a lot of information has happened overnight. In fact, I was up very late last night translating video from a submarine, and in a few hours, I will be releasing that video that will be very interesting for you to hear the words coming out of the mouth of Vladimir Putin. And those are the reasons you're seeing some of the headlines today, but you're not really seeing any meat to the headlines. You will be seeing Putin in a few hours and what he said. It's shocking, to be quite honest. So be looking for that coming in a couple of hours. Now, I can tell you, as of this moment, Vladimir Putin and Russia is all in. He is making very bold and brash statements against Donald Trump, against Ukraine, against the Nazis, against Europe. He has seen what has unfolded, the American diplomacy. He has witnessed people like Witkoff coming to sit with him, seeing that Marco Rubio has disappeared from the scene until today. And what is he doing? He's going all in. He is preparing Russia for full war. Germany even warning today that they see the signs of Russian invasion into the Baltics, and Poland needs to prepare. Germany needs to prepare. Not trying to fearmonger here at all. I'm just here to tell you the truth. Vladimir Putin's all in because right now the tables are set for him very well. Now, what proof do I have to add to that? Dmitry Peskov coming out just a couple of hours ago. I've got two quotes here. I also have the audio recording. He spoke audio only, so I don't want to bore you with that. But the bottom line is this: Russia now, no truce. Of course, there never was a truce for Russia, but now officially stated from Dmitry Peskov. He pointed to the right of the Russian Federation not to comply with the agreement in the event of continued strikes by the armed forces. So what has happened is Russia struck again the gas pipeline in Suja. They struck it. False flag, blaming Ukraine. Now, I will tell you, last night, Ukraine put drones in the air. They were flying over Ingles. They were flying over Saratov, and they had some strikes. So, but that's, guys, it's what it needs to be. There is no truce. There is no ceasefire. That's just a bunch of caca. The war has not stopped. The war is increasing. The war is raging, and it will just escalate now. Over on the right, the TASS tweet, all segments of the Ukrainian armed forces do not listen to their commanders. They strike whatever they want. Therefore, the Russian Federation reserves the right not to comply with the moratorium on shelling of the energy industry, which is constantly violated by Kyiv. Peskov. Ladies and gentlemen, all calculated. Everything is calculated. Russia going all in, Vladimir Putin all in, because he is seeing that right now he has the advantage. Ukraine still with trickling in the weapons from the previous Biden administration, hanging on by a thread with the promises of intelligence that is still flowing from the United States. He sees he has opportunity to pounce. Therefore, you're seeing these moratoriums lifted. It's going to be interesting what unfolds today, tomorrow, over this weekend in regard to strikes from both sides. Secondly, we finally heard from Marco Rubio. The United States is backing up. Remember, first it was 24 hours, and then Trump in some later interview says, well, you know, I was being a little sarcastic there. And then Kellogg was interviewed, and he was sitting at the chair. Well, you know, that was just a little bit of a joke. We're really looking at about 100 days out to like April the 20th to get this resolved, get peace, get everything situated in the world running again in harmony. Today, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State of the United States, en route to Florida, he said that it will take as long as it takes to end the war. And he said it doesn't depend on the United States at all. It depends on the Ukrainians, the Russians, and our partners in Europe. Interesting timing coming after the coalition of the willing yesterday, with Macron making such strong statements about Europe needing to be prepared to go independent from America. Also, Rutte making the strong statements about we will never deal with Putin. And Zelensky, no releasing of sanctions. Zelensky trolling Putin, calling him a dinosaur, and the Russians, all they want to do is consume Ukraine. Today, Marco Rubio making a statement, not Witkoff, Rubio, the Secretary of State. It depends on the Ukrainians, the Russians, and our partners in Europe. Now, let's get to the crux of the matter, and that is be prepared. Vladimir Putin signaling to the Russian elite, to the leadership there in the Kremlin, to the oligarchs, not to expect a quick peace in Ukraine. We're going all in. In fact, it is reported that the internal atmosphere inside the Kremlin is now reminiscent of the situation on the eve of the invasion of Ukraine back in February of 2022. I'm telling you guys, you need to see the video. I'm translating it right now. Just give me a couple of more hours. I don't see this video anywhere. It was recorded by Zarubin, who was with him on this submarine. This is where all these headlines are coming from, his conversations on the submarine. It wasn't a big deal event, but I've got the video. Make sure you're there to see it in a couple of hours. This feeling, this gloating, it is rising up stronger because Putin smells blood in the water. He sees the weakness of the United States, the weakness of Europe, and the weakness of Ukraine, because they are dependent upon supply from the West. So he's preparing. We're going to continue. He has other statements in sight from the Kremlin. Putin's idea is to wait until Ukraine collapses. Remember, this goes back to the video where Donald Trump was asked, well, isn't he dragging his feet in regard to negotiations? And Trump said, well, that's what business people do. I've done it myself. I've dragged my feet. Well, in this situation, the reason that Putin is dragging his feet is because he doesn't really care. All he wants to do is wait, continue to wage war, and continue to destroy Ukraine. That's it. Putin is confident that he understands Trump's character well and can convince him to end the war on Russian terms, not American terms, not Ukrainian terms, not European Union terms, Russian terms. What will that be? Fully reinstated to the world order, back on the stage, no sanctions, reconnected to SWIFT, and we go down the road. No reparations, no fault, no criminality, nothing. That's what he's counting on. But if that doesn't work, he's also ready to wage a war for 100 years. His goal is simply right now to wait until Ukraine falls. Yes, a lot of stuff coming out over the last 12 hours. Russia officials did not expect Trump to take such a pro-Russian stance. Listen to that again. The Russian officials were surprised at how pro-Russian Trump was and is. However, they're Russians, KGB. They now fear that the American president may be attempting to set a trap. Therefore, the situation is unpredictable and it could explode at any moment. And Moscow fears only one thing from Donald Trump, and that is his radicalism. They're seeing that behavior demonstrated in Greenland and Canada. They fear that radicalism. The Kremlin believes that Trump is guided by his own interest. And if negotiations with Moscow disappoint, Russian-American relations could become even more complicated. Basically, go back down the toilet. So guys, this is where we're at today. So much happening. And what's interesting is we're seeing these different headlines, but there's no meat to the articles. Here is the meat, and this is what is going on today, March the 28th. Putin is all in. Make sure you like the video. Leave a comment. What are your thoughts? Turn the notification bell on and subscribe, and be looking out in a few hours because Mr. Putin was on a submarine, and you need to hear the video. You guys have a good day. We'll be back at you in a couple of hours.